think I'm usually someone to speak up.
I do feel comfortable speaking in public, yeah. I guess it's just, I don't know, I guess I'm a very loud person, I guess you can say. And I guess that kind of contributes to be able to speak in public pretty well. So yeah, I feel comfortable doing it.
Depends on the number of the people. I do get really shy and nervous talking in public.
Speaking is a very deliberate act for me. I speak to myself when I reflect upon things and when I can't find stuff, for example.
Uncomfortable. Because I'm not a good public speaker.
Kind of, not really. Sometimes, depends on the day, honestly. I think like my accent sometimes, I'm like not feeling it, but other days it's fine.
It's probably like a little bit out of fear. Yeah, I would be honest about that. I know I said before that I'm able to speak in public pretty well, but it also depends on what I'm saying as well. Because if it has something to do with like that, I hesitate a little bit.
I do speak up. If I don't like that person, I'll be like, hey, here's something you did wrong. I don't like that, and yeah.
It should be a guaranteed thing. That's at least how I was taught and educated, and apply to more cultures and more generations rather than a specific community, which I feel like is an issue, especially where I come from.
It's a necessary human right. I think everyone should have the ability to speak.
I think it's fucking dope. It's a good thing. I think whatever you think, you just gotta pour it out.
A lot of people don't have that in different countries, and in some ways, underrepresented people in America.
I think that's important. I come from a place where that's not an option. I feel like a lot of people here take it for granted to be able to express their opinions. Again, where I come from, it's not really an option, so that's a luxury for me.
I do understand censorship. As somebody who wants to go into a media field, I understand why certain things would be censored, just to not affect minorities or certain groups in a negative way. I understand why sometimes freedom of speech needs to be limited, but unless it's to prevent harm for anyone, I don't think that freedom of speech should be hindered upon.
You have to have a standpoint. Why you cursing to that person? Is that person belief is very bad, or you just don't disagree with them? But I don't think humiliating and insulting anyone can be any useful to yourself.
There is very limited freedom in speech, because when you talk, you all the thoughts in your head are expressed through words, and a lot of times most of the time society restricts how you think, and that sort of restriction really controls the freedom. So as long as there is structure, I think there is there is limited freedom for speech.
We are able to say what we want to say, but it depends on what we say. Because obviously, if you make a threat to the president, that's going to be noticed, or a threat to, shoot someplace up, that's going to get noticed. So I feel fine with it, but yet again, there are limitations to it. So it's really not freedom of speech, because there are little limitations.
I feel like everybody has an opinion and everybody has a voice. So I feel like everybody should voice their opinions, but it should be in a way that it doesn't offend anybody. But that doesn't mean that anybody should be stopped to say something.
There should be a right to voice hatred as well, but not there's a difference between a hate crime and hate speech. I don't necessarily agree with every hatred speech. I think there should be some, but then I don't know where to draw the line, on the sections of hatred speech.
And I do feel like all opinions are opinions, but if one opinion should be criticized, the criticism should be taken seriously.
Voicing your opinions can be done in a respectful way where you can let the other person know what you feel. I can't say to what extent it is right or wrong because everything has two sides to it. So it's I don't know.
Even if it's hate speech, they still have the right to say it. Even though in other people's minds it's wrong, to them it feels right. And I can't judge them for that.
I think it shouldn't be confused with freedom of speech because sometimes some people just say some stuff just for the sake of getting attention. Again, I guess when you have the freedom to say anything, different people have different opinions, it's bound to happen. But sometimes, again, people say stuff just to grab somebody's attention, and that's just not, again, that's it's just exploiting the privilege that they have.
I mean, as a kid, like just being on the bus and watching like older people bullying even older people, like I just felt out of context and weaker, and like I learned from it in that it was wrong, but I wasn't able to stand up. I mean, I was like one of the few kids that would like tell the bus driver like to like stop or like tell them what's going on, but like it just in that situation, I guess, being at a weaker stance, it was difficult.
I was one of the few people who was not 18 at the time, and everybody else was at least 5 or 6 years older than me that was involved in the conflict. So I felt like it was just not my place as somebody who was not even seen as an adult to involve myself. And it basically seemed like a conversation for the adults, and all children, which at the time that was what I was considered to be, should not be involved. And of course I could have gone out of my way and still spoken up about it, but I felt like the situation was just under control with the adults.
There have been instances like that. I can't pinpoint like a particular one, but then I'm pretty sure the reason why I didn't speak up was the fact that I didn't feel like it was my place to say anything, and I just kept the opinion to myself and like let my way of thinking.
I would say I'm not someone to like post on social media a lot about my political values and stuff. I'm kind of just drawn back by if it will send as much of a message. I like still follow accounts that do, and like I share like in like a personal context, I guess. I think it can be really helpful, especially if like even in the underbelly of like just sharing a post, like underneath, like telling your friends about a movement or something that they can sign a petition for. That kind of stuff is really powerful, especially like in this last year.
I didn't speak up, I think, because when I speak up, my words reflect upon myself, and sometimes reserve my opinion, and maybe like scared of what other people might think about me.
I feel like people definitely are responsible for themselves, but I mean, like, there has to be a right time and place where you say things. Like, if I feel like it's really important for them to know, I will make sure that they know. Like, not like in that exact moment, but I will like make sure that they know later on.
When people are having like debates about religion, about Christianity, and personally, I'm a Christian, but a lot of times I don't speak up for during these debates because I think that I'm scared that my words might not be the most accurate expression of what I'm thinking or what I believe in. And I think that because words are like logic, and sometimes you have to match up logic with sort of the essence of yourself, and it doesn't always match up.
I was born Christian, and my parents are Christian. They say I'm Christian, but personally, I don't really believe everything that the Bible says, and I don't follow everything. And a lot of people in my background are still against homosexuality and the queer community. And when I was listening to this pop artist Troye Sivan when his album first came out, my parents and my church friends were very against it, but I did not care. But I could not necessarily say why I support him because of what they believe, and I believe that it should be respected. But I wish I could have stood up for what I support. I also wanted to respect what the community believed in, because I myself was part of it at the time as well.
I'm not somebody who identifies with groups that hate speech would particularly be directed at the moment. So just from personal experience, I don't think I know enough.
I would probably say for like Black Lives Matter and things like that, because obviously nowadays, like, there are a lot of young black kids my age, like 15 and up, who are getting threatened by police officers, like, for doing nothing. And I really kind of shy away from that because I am really not afraid of police officers. And you really shouldn't be, because they're supposed to do their job, yet they're pulling their gun out when they see nothing. So I feel like I haven't really said my opinion about that, but I don't know, it's like a touchy topic to me. I've been kind of scared to say something.
So I do believe that I get a stronger voice, not only from myself, but from the group that I'm associated with.
But also, like, me personally, sometimes I like to go unnoticed because that's just how I am. That's kind of my personality.
I think everybody, has a couple moments where they feel like they wish that they had stood up for something or said something but didn't. For me, it's happened a couple of times in my workplace, and specifically for the reason that it was my workplace, I didn't say anything. Because I felt like there was enough people fighting that battle that I didn't need to involve myself. At the time, I felt like it was something that the person could handle by themselves and with, the two other people that were helping with the situation. But now that I look back on it, I wish that I had spoken up, and I didn't, because I didn't want to put my job at stake. But that's not always the right outlook.
I think, catcalling a lot of the times I don't speak up if I get catcalled because I'm just scared for my own safety. I don't know why, in London, I often get catcalled. It's weird, but I ignore it and tend to brush it off. Some people go off, they're like, yeah, why did you call me this? But I just don't feel comfortable doing this because I'm if I'm walking alone, I'm scared. So I want to just ask them, has this ever worked for you? Really, realistically? I don't feel like I need to, ask, push back, because it doesn't affect me as much as it does. And I know that for a lot of people it affects them much more than it does me. But I feel like you should have the freedom to speak up. But it's also just not realistic. There will be I'm just worried about the consequences. I can't brush it off. The consequences. If somebody was catcalling me and then I snap back at them and then they did something to me, it's always an option. I never not have that in the back of my mind.
When they disagree with you, when you speak back, you're just they're just getting more mad, and I don't want to see my parents get mad or disappointed at me, even though I'm right. So I'm just trying my way to convince them. But if I fail, I can't do anything about it because I'm an adult now. I'm in college, and they can't make decisions for me. We argue last month before the declaration of majors. I was like, Dad, you're wrong. Painting major is not gonna just be like one of those painter in, I don't know, Fifth Avenue selling prints or photograph, because it's risky, And then my dad didn't believe me, and I speak back. It didn't work. It's good to speak up. If sometimes just like not necessary, you know. I mean, especially with the parents, like mostly the parents.
I think since I turned 18, it's kind of been like, my opinion is valid whether you think that or not, because if somebody, and it's happened a lot in my life where people will be like, older than me, will be like, don't speak in this issue. It's you're a child, you're not 18. And now I can whip out the adult card and be like, whether you think it or not, I'm legally an adult. My opinions should matter to you.